want to win at fantasy football, right? Then you must identify breakout players. And I've done this for you. Here are the 5 breakout running backs for 2022. Now, let me ask you something. Does the name Khalil Herbert excite you? If you answered yes, you're ahead of the game. And if you answered no, I'd like to help change that. Because Bears starting running back David Montgomery, he missed 4 games last year. And in those games he missed, the rookie Khalil Herbert stepped in, won the backup job in camp, and he ended up delivering 13.7 fantasy points per game. And during this time, during those 4 weeks of the year, he ended up being a borderline top 10 back, basically was. He was the number 11 back overall during that time, ahead of Najee Harris and right in the company of DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, and Alvin Kamara. Now, here's the thing that is very eye-opening about this. The Bears gave this rookie 22.3 opportunities per game, and opportunities are just your targets per game plus your carries per game. That's a whole lot. In fact, it's virtually the same as what Jonathan Taylor, the RB1 last year, averaged on the season. Taylor averaged 22.6 opportunities, targets plus carries in 2021. Now, this is an important piece of intel because David Montgomery has missed time each of the past 2 years, and his chance of injury this year is above average at 67%. And very few backups will see the opportunity of a full backfield, not splitting with another guy like Khalil Herbert will. And yet Herbert goes outside the top 50 running backs off the board right now, behind a guy in Tyrion Davis-Price who might be the 3rd running back on his own team. Now, Herbert's not the only second-year running back who's primed to break out, because in 2021, Trevor Lawrence on Jacksonville, you can see Jacksonville right here, targeted running backs 20% of the time, which was a top 10 rate in the NFL. Now, here's why this is exciting. Travis Etienne is on track to return this year, fellas, and he was their 1st-round draft pick, probably mistakenly by Urban Meyer, but still 1st-round draft capital last year. But that's not all. Etienne played with Trevor Lawrence in college, so he's going to bring that chemistry to the pros. And not only did he play with him, he posted a league-high 48 receptions his final year at Clemson, and the year before was no joke either with 37. He made an active effort after his sophomore year. This has been documented to catch the ball more because that's what NFL backs do. Those are his words, not mine. And he did exactly that while seeing 98 targets over a 2-year span, which in college is top 1% of all time from Trevor Lawrence. Now, stay with me because this is where it starts to get real interesting. James Robinson ruptured his Achilles on December 26th, the day after Christmas last year. Now, typically this injury takes 10 to 12 months to recover from for an NFL running back, which if we look at the Jacksonville schedule here, that means he would likely miss somewhere between 5, 6, maybe 7 games and return in mid to end of October, maybe the Giants on the 23rd of October, somewhere around there. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Well, what about Cam Akers? Let's discuss. For those of you that don't know, Cam Akers returned from an Achilles injury in a record timing of 6 months for a running back. And to this date, that is an outlier, but there's a lot of this we have to break down. Because upon his return to end the regular season and in the playoffs, he ranked dead last amongst all running backs during that time in efficiency. Just 1.6 yards per touch, a running back efficiency metric, is one of the worst we have seen in quite some time. And this is to be expected coming off of a devastating injury in record time. But here's the takeaway. You can expect James Robinson to miss the start of the year, and even if he comes back early, odds are he won't be that effective. And yet Travis Etienne is currently going in the 4th round of the drafts outside the top 15 running backs, even though he profiles out as a top 2, really a 2nd round draft pick. Now, you're not going to believe the upside this next guy has. In 2021, the 49ers ranked 2nd in rushing efficiency, and their running back 1 was Elijah Mitchell, and he commanded the 3rd highest opportunity share of any NFL running back last year as a rookie. Now, fellas, this is very significant, and let me explain why. This 81% opportunity share, which means all the targets and carries you were seeing in the backfield compared to your other running backs on your team, this was 30% higher than any other running back Kyle Shanahan has coached in his career. 30%. The man's notoriously known for giving it to multiple backs, not last year with Mitchell. Now, let me guess what you're thinking. The 49ers drafted a 3rd round running back this year, Sal, and you're correct. Tyrion Davis-Price, 93rd overall, goes to the 49ers from LSU. But check this out. After the draft, there was a press conference with the 49ers general manager John Lynch and then Kyle Shanahan. This is what Shanahan said about the pick of a 3rd round running back, Tyrion Davis-Price, who really, that running back prospect wasn't on anybody, including myself's radar. Shanahan mentions how they take 2 running backs in last year's draft in Trey Sermon and Elijah Mitchell, and by the 4th game, we're still having to steal guys off of other teams' practice squads just to fill enough guys to play in a game. To me, this suggests that Tyrion Davis-Price was just taken as an injury depth piece. And meanwhile, Elijah Mitchell currently goes in the 7th round of drafts as the 24th running back off the board. Now, what's crazy is that this next guy goes even later. So get this, running backs playing with this man, Patrick Mahomes, starting running backs, average a top 12 fantasy finish throughout Mahomes' career. And now brace yourselves for this because he is the old interesting part. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the starting running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, and yet he's going as the running back 26 off the board. Again, the average KC finish under Mahomes, top 12. And another way to look at it is that the average running back sees 14.8 fantasy points per game with Mahomes at QB, which if you compare that to last year's numbers, that would be more than a guy named Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Swift, Ezekiel Elliott, Aaron Jones. All of these guys were less than that metric. And some people might say, oh, Clyde Edwards-Helaire isn't the clear starting running back. He is. Ronald Jones signed for barely any money, and he has not been effective. Even in the #1 offense in Tampa Bay last year, was not effective at carving out a role. Jerick McKinnon just re-signed in June to barely any money. If anything, in my opinion, he's the RB3 to 4 on this team. And then no other backs, these 7th round running backs and these undrafted guys like Jerry and Ely, they're not that threatening. Plus, Edwards-Helaire gave us massive news in February. He stated on his Instagram and a radio show that he had his gallbladder removed last off season, so this will be his first fully healthy off season, and here's why it matters. Clyde plays around 210 pounds at the running back position, which is a very good size, but he stated that he came into camp at 160 pounds, 50 pounds lighter than he was supposed to because of the injury and surgery. But that's not all. He then missed 7 games during the season because he suffered a shoulder injury that he dealt with for a lot of the season and a knee injury later in the year. Again, there's a good chance these were because he was undersized. And let me remind you what a healthy Clyde Edwards-Helaire looks like, because he hasn't been healthy at all in his NFL career. When he came out of the draft, he was dealing with injuries as well. A healthy Clyde Edwards-Helaire produced over 1,850 yards, including 55 receptions his final year of college at LSU. And right now, he's currently a value in the 7th round of drafts. He goes as the running back 26 off the board. But according to my Supreme Draft Night cheat sheet, he's the running back 22, and if anything, he's rising. And he's highlighted in green because I see him as a value right now. And you can get the Supreme cheat sheet as an add-on for free thanks to our sponsors, prizepicks.com, by using the link in the description. You basically just use the code SAL22 on prizepicks.com, and I will email you the cheat sheet with updates weekly. You could click the link in the description to learn more. Now let's discuss why this 10th round running back is a breakout candidate, and he plays on the New England Patriots, who ranked last year #2 overall in rush offense. Rushing efficiency was the 49ers at 2, overall rush offense, the Patriots #2. But do you know who the most efficient running back on the team was? Drum roll, please. The answer is Ramondre Stevenson, and he was top 20 last year in efficiency in yards per touch. He was #4 in juke rate, breaking tackles, getting yards after contact, and he even led the Patriots in success rate. Now here's the fun part. Stevenson saw 12.6 opportunities per game, his targets and his carries, which for a backup running back is a very healthy amount. It was top 10 in the NFL. Now Stevenson played in 2 games without Harris last year, and he averaged 16.2 fantasy points per game. He basically doubled his production. The 16.2 fantasy points per game is RB1 production. He saw 19 opportunities in those games and 77 total yards. But that's not all, because Damian Harris has missed 24% of his games since 2020. And according to DraftSharks, he has an 89% chance to miss time this year, and they believe he'll miss 2 to 3 games. And even if Harris doesn't get hurt, there's a path for Stevenson, because of how good he was last year, to see more touches. Now you're going to want to have exposure to these running backs. They're set to break out this year. And if you want to see the wide receivers that you must own, the must draft wide receivers this year, check out this video right here. And stay tuned, because the breakout wide receivers video is oh so juicy.